And so, in the blink of an eye, that is 2022 gone. This is going to be the last video of the year, and what I thought I'd do is look back at the Apple gear that's landed on my doorstep over the past 12 months, and we're going to start off with HomePod. Everything started for me on Christmas Day of 2021 when I was given a HomePod Mini. I never owned one of the original HomePods, so this is my first Apple speaker and I really liked it. In fact, I liked it so much I went and bought a second one within a couple of weeks. What I did with that is put them under the TV. Before that, I had a Sony soundbar on my TV, but having two separate speakers meant I was getting proper stereo separation. And one of the other features that I really do like about the HomePod Mini is handoff. So if you've been out listening to, say, a podcast or an album, you can just come in, off your phone up to the HomePod Mini, and it picks up and carries on effortlessly from where you left off. My hopes for this year are that they might re-release a full-blown HomePod, and if they do, and it's a sensible price, I'll be front of the queue to make sure I get one, and I can bring it onto the channel, let you know what I make of it. And one of the things that just does not work on HomePod Minis is Siri. But then again, Siri doesn't work on virtually any of my devices anyway, so we can't blame the speaker for that. But HomePod Minis, really good. If you haven't tried them yet, it's well worth it. They're part of your home kit. The stereo pair under the TV works perfectly. And one of the main reasons I did that was for the next thing that I bought this year, which was Apple TV 4K. Apple TV 4K has really changed everything for me. I did buy one of the original Apple TVs with those silly, slim little remotes back in 2012 or 13, I think. And I hardly ever used it. The reason being there wasn't much content on there at that point, but everything has changed now from a couple of years ago when Apple really started investing heavily in their original content. And I have watched so much on Apple TV this year. Their original content is stunning. What I like about it is it's kind of all an event. It feels special. It doesn't just feel like a TV show. It feels almost like you're watching a movie all of the time. From Bad Sisters to Morning Show to Coda, Emancipation. I've watched so many things. Slow Horses, that's just started its second season. And I say the filming is beautiful, the production is beautiful. It's a real event to be able to sit back and watch it in brilliant 4K def. Now, when you get the Apple TV out of the box, you can just plug and play and let go, but it's worth your while in just spending a little while calibrating the white balance, the sound. Your iPhone is central to it all, as you'd expect. But if you take just a few moments to get everything set up once, and you only need to do it once, then from there on in, the picture quality and the sound, the audio is just fantastic. They have just released the new 4K Apple TV this year. I haven't bought that. There wasn't enough new improvements in it for me. I don't need much storage, which is one of the main things that they improved this year. So outside of that, I'm so happy with Apple TV. I watch most of my content through there now. Before that, here in the UK, I used to use Sky an awful lot. I've got Sky Q, which is their digital version, but I can honestly tell you that the picture quality through Apple TV 4K is so much better. It's noticeably better. Beautiful, rich blacks, great tones. Skin tones are lovely, warm and defined. Really love it. If you haven't tried out Apple 4K TV, I suggest you give it a go in 2023. It really is something really special. Now, the MacBook Air, it's odd, and it's my fault. Nothing to do with the machine. You can probably see it just behind me over there. And it's a great little machine, and I'm forcing myself to use it more. I realise that it's the bit of kit that I completely underuse, and that's my fault. I always reach for the MacBook Pro, I guess, habit as much as anything. But that M2 MacBook Air is really proficient at what it does. Clearly, it hasn't got the grunt of my MacBook Pro, and it shouldn't. It's less than half the price of it. But during the summer, I made a couple of videos where I was editing podcasts on there, editing videos on there. Okay, I went light on the effects on those videos, in fairness, but it still managed to do it, which means that if I was away from the studio for any length of time, I could take that MacBook Air with me and it would get the job done. It's so light and ultra portable, which is one thing, of course, that the MacBook Pro has got against it. It is really heavy. And the combination of the weight and the price means I don't want to move it around an awful lot. So that tends to stay here in the studio most of the time. And if I'm going anywhere on the road, I take the M2 MacBook Air with me, and it hasn't let me down. And the other great thing about both of those machines is the battery life. I'm sure you've heard it mentioned before, but the battery life is ridiculously good. No matter what you're doing, even if it is processor heavy work, you're still going to get through a day easily on the battery on either of those machines. So going into 2023, I'm going to try to use that little MacBook Air more because it's really good. I've started over these last few days when I haven't been in the studio as much to pick it up and use it. And I've just forgotten how light it is to use, how easy, manageable. It's just a great piece of kit. And I really am going to start using it more this year. I think I'm going to try and start writing my blogs on it every day. It just breaks up the day a little bit. But again, if you're looking for something ultra portable that's really consummate to use, that would be my suggestion. Just make sure you try and tick the box on the amount of unified memory that you've got. That does make a difference to the performance of the machine. But other than that, it's a great way to get into the Mac ecosystem. And as long as your workload isn't ridiculously heavy and creative each and every day, that little fella over there will do you proud. So now we're in autumn, and it was the Far Out event, which ended up being an expensive event for me. I ended up buying 3 things from that event. And the first of those was the iPhone. I had been aware for the last few months before that event that I needed to improve the camera quality on my channel, because I'd started off using just an iPhone 12, a standard iPhone 12, and it simply wasn't up to the task. So I'd been umming and ahhing. I'd wanted to get a Canon camera, my first ever camera, but I thought, well, I don't know how to use a Canon. It could put me back. It could be a really expensive mistake. And in the end, once the reviews started coming in for iPhone, I decided to buy an iPhone 14 Pro with a terabyte of storage, because I was aware of how I was going to be using it. And I was right. The improvement in camera quality and views and subs, fun enough, all stemmed from when I bought that iPhone 14 Pro, as suddenly the image quality was going up on the channel a huge amount. It's a brilliant setup. In cinematic mode now, you can shoot in 24 or 30 FPS in 4K, which is when I really decided it was time to go. That gives you that lovely soft depth of field. And also, of course, you've got a better stills camera as well. Now, just be aware of the data and the amount of file size you're going to have on there. In photography, I always leave it set to Pro RAW. That is big, but manageable. Pictures tend to be around 45 to 65 meg, so you can get those off the phone. But on the video side of it, I shot the first few videos in ProRes, but they're just too big to get off the phone. That was the biggest problem. I wouldn't have minded the size of the file, because once it's done and shot, I can delete it from the phone and back it up. But it was just getting it off the phone. It took forever. So I only used ProRes a few times. After that, it was back to cinematic, and I was using, I think, 30 frames per second, sometimes 24 frames per second in 4K. And suddenly I had the picture quality that I really wanted. So the camera setup on the iPhone 14 is brilliant. The battery life wasn't quite as good as I'd hoped, but that has improved with 16.2 iOS when they've changed the way that the always-on display works. I left the always-on display running for all of those interim months, but now suddenly with that change to the always-on display, battery life is actually a lot better. So all in all, that was another really solid purchase. But the other 2 purchases I made from Far Out event were equally game changers for me. The next thing I bought was one of them, an Apple Watch. I'd never owned an Apple Watch before. Everyone kept telling me that I was missing out and that I really needed to get myself an Apple Watch. And it's really odd, until you start wearing one and using one, it's hard to explain to anybody. I'd still struggle now as to why you should wear one, but it's only once you start wearing one every day that you begin to see the benefits that it's had. It's made a big difference to my health for sure. I'm now subscribe to Apple Fitness Plus as well. So I do daily workouts with Apple Fitness Plus. But even sitting here editing during the day, the Apple Watch remind me that it's time to stand up, move around. And I do. And it's just made a big difference to how I feel and just my general well-being. So during the course of this year, over the last 3 months, 4 months certainly, the Apple Watch has made a big difference. The battery life on this is really good. It lasts a day and a half, which for most average Joes, I think is decent. Would I be tempted with the Ultra? Only for the sake of the channel. I don't think it's got enough to offer me. As I say, with a day and a half battery life on here, which is including tracking 2 or 3 workouts and through sleep mode as well, I don't know if there's enough to really tempt me with the Ultra or not. I'm really happy with the Apple Watch though, and I'm finally glad that I've got into the party and can fully understand the benefits of it. For a wearable fitness device, yeah, it's made a big difference to me and my health and my vitality during the course of this year. And the final thing that I bought from the Far Out event was, of course, my device of the year, my product of the year, which is AirPod Pro 2. I've made endless videos on them. I don't need to tell you what my thoughts are on those anymore, just to say that they are stunningly good. There's not much I think they can improve on them. If you haven't landed yourself a pair yet, look around in the sales. I think you can get them with maybe up to 40, 50 pounds or dollars off, which would be an absolute bargain if you could. They are fantastic. My device of the year, as I say, and certainly the thing that I use the most. They go with me absolutely everywhere. They're sitting in my pocket right now, in fact. I have them everywhere that I go. So that would be my product of the year. But one thing that I haven't bought yet, which I'm thinking of buying, is some AirPod Max. But I'm going to hold back on that because I think at some point this year, they're going to have to change something to do with the charging port on there over to USB-C or go wireless charging, whichever way they're going to go with it. So I'm going to hold back, but later in the year, I will get some AirPod Max. But I don't think I'll end up using them anywhere near as much as I do these AirPod Pro to buy them. They are brilliant. And funnily enough, one of the other small little things that I bought right towards the end of the year was the Belkin clamp that goes onto the MacBook Air or the MacBook Pro so I can use continuity camera. When I'm doing the interviews online for the podcast, -16, I always use that now. I use the iPhone 14 as a webcam, and that's again why you will have seen an improvement. Before that, I was using a 4K webcam from Logitech, but the iPhone clearly, but £1,700, you should be paying for something, and you're getting a good bit of glass in there. And the picture quality, again, has just improved on those podcasts as well. So although it's only a tiny little thing, it's worth mentioning that Belkin clamp is worth getting. It's a fantastic little addition. And if you make any kind of online calls, even if it's just a family and you're on Zoom calls, having your iPhone sitting there, you've bought it for another $50 or 50 quid, you might as well buy that little stand, mount your camera on top of your MacBook Air or your MacBook Pro, and you've got a stunning camera then to carry out your online calls. And I think that's pretty much been all I've bought this year. There's not much I've missed out on. The Mac Studio really didn't interest me because of the MacBook Pro. I decided I want to go mobile rather than be stuck to a desk all of the time. And I've made some really good purchases this year. I'm really happy with what they give me. Looking ahead to next year, it's hard to say what's going to be tempting me because the two big headline acts of the Mac Pro and the AR VR headset really aren't of any interest to me. The Mac Pro is more than I need and also a stupid price tag. And the headset, again, really, really expensive. And at the moment, AR VR headsets aren't in my kind of interest zone, but I guess everything can change. So heading into the year, Mac Pros, no. Headset, probably not. But if they begin looking at iPhone 15 with the zoom, the lens that's going to go in and out, that will really interest me. And obviously then it'll be USB-C, we think, as well, rather than wireless charging. That would be probably of some interest to me. And as I said, AirPod Max, again, once they've sorted out the charging port on that, those are things at the moment that I'm looking forward to in 2023. But guys, what about you? What are you looking forward to this coming year in 2023? And what has been your products of the year that you bought during the course of 2022? Let me know, get involved, leave some comments down below. Thank you so much for watching this. It was just a quick review of the products I bought this year. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and I will catch you in the first video of 23. See you soon, guys.